Marhaba and hello once again to Muhammad Jihad Ismael and to all our friends around the world who favor the cause of justice and peace in the conflict between Palestine and Israel. Today is Saturday, February 15th. This is part three of our program about this book by Muhammad called Tomorrow Will Answer: Horror and Hope in Palestine. We hope you've seen the other two programs. They seem to be doing okay in terms of viewership, and we can promise you that you will not read any other book about Palestine like this one. So we hope you'll look under more information below and click on that to find out how you can get a copy, and also to look at our GoFundMe, because Muhammad's family, in the face of everything that has happened in Gaza, has decided, if it's possible, to emigrate. And we have a GoFundMe going that is now at 36% of its goal to help to pay for that. So look under more for lots of good links and information about how you can directly help this family to reach a new life. They have three children and one about to be born. Their fourth is very soon going to be born, and they're going to need all the help they can get. So please think about what it might be like to bear a new child in the ruins of Gaza and take this action. It's the most direct, most accountable, and safest way to directly help Muhammad and his family in Gaza. Brother, hello. We're right Saturday today, the 15th, on the edge of we don't know what's going to happen because the so-called ceasefire was not honored by Israel. They killed over 100 Palestinians, wounded hundreds of them in Gaza during the so-called ceasefire, and also made major attacks in the West Bank. So Hamas sees this. Maybe they are not going then to release all the hostages because that is their only protection. As soon as the last hostage is released, Israel will begin to attack again. And they will say that Hamas broke the promises, but it is not true. Mohammed, how are you coping with the worry and the fear about what is going to happen right now?
Hello, brother. I am happy to be talking with you again.
As you can see, ladies and
Today
gentlemen,
we
we
are.
often have technical problems because as soon as we begin a substantive conversation, either Hamas or Israel or the United States or both interrupt our signal, and he may even drop out of sight temporarily. We're going to keep doing this because the things that we want to communicate to you from Gaza are that important. Mohammed, how are you dealing with the worry and the fear that maybe violence is going to break out again? We're right on the edge.
Yeah, all the people here, not only me or my family, all the people here are living very, very critical days. People are so anxious about their near future, about the coming weeks and months. We cannot guarantee that war will not come back. We are so worried about our tomorrow. We don't know what will happen because it is a fragile, it is a vulnerable ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. And from time to time, we have so many violations are registered in this so-called ceasefire. So people are very, very worried and very, very anxious. I am giving you their impression and their feelings now.
Yes, and I want people to know by showing the cover of the book once again how important I feel as a scholar of these subjects that Muhammad's book is, because he talks about mistakes. He talks about the mistakes Hamas made, the mistakes that Israel has made, and the mistakes of the international community as the Palestinian people, flesh and blood, individual human beings, suffer every single day deprivation, terror, death. But Muhammad you talk about mistakes, not crimes. And that is a big statement. Why? Because that way we could begin to talk about forgiveness, about mutual forgiveness for the mistakes that have been made. And I want to know the feeling as you do today. Do you still believe that? Do you still believe that that is possible?
Actually, I have my own special school in dealing with politics. As a historian, I try always to combine between history and politics. I think that it is very, very important for anybody deals with politics or try to interpret politics. It's very, very important for such a person always to take the learned lessons from history. I think we have always to look back to the previous decades and centuries in order to have the learned lessons. I think this is the value of history. We have always to get the learned lessons. That I am trying always to interpret the political scene from a different angle, a different view. I am
Yes.
trying always to deal with both sides, Israel and Palestine, uh, by this way, trying to focus on the mistakes which are being committed by both sides. Yeah.
And this to me, Mohammed, as an historian myself, and knowing that you are an historian, this to me is the most important function we have of history. Some people say, oh, no, a real historian does not comment on political issues and so forth. But all that does is leave history in the museum. It only leaves history in the library. And so we cannot have a chance to think about what has happened, the mistakes that have been made, and what we can do now to learn something to make a better life for everyone. That's what your and my and many people's struggle is about. That history is there to help us to make a better life for both sides. So your work is a chance to interrupt the great cycle of crime and murder and violence and killing and it just goes on and on. We must interrupt this sequence. We must interrupt this problem and find a new way forward. So I just, well, I'm here and invested in the project, but I want to thank you for opening my mind so much with this book. And I hope people, it's only about 40 pages. It is made up, as we told you, of transcripts of interviews that you gave to Arabic media over a year or two. And it points a way out of hell. So, Mohammed, what other urgent statement do you want to make today? Do you still believe that some kind of new understanding is possible?
Yeah, of course. I believe that we have to think in a different way about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. I think all the traditional or old ways of thinking to deal with this problem or this conflict, I think almost all of them were mistaken, were not productive, not good at all. I think, as a historian, I think always we had the possibility of coexistence between both peoples. Here in Palestine, if we try to make a neutral reading to history, we will find clearly that both peoples used to live side by side with each other in harmony, in coexistence, in peace. Yeah, we have this. We have this. We have this. We witnessed this kind of coexistence in the previous decades, and
For
centuries.
centuries, for
Yeah,
hundreds of years.
yeah. Let me tell you something important. During the Islamic conquest of Palestine in the 7th century, Muslims have attended upon the backs of their horses and camels from Arabia, from the Arabian Peninsula. They came here to the southern Palestine. The first battle which took place between the Romans who were ruling Palestine, the Byzantine Romans, and Muslims, this battle was named Dathan or Dathan. Dathan battle took place very, very close to Balah, Deir al-Balah, my area. It was the first battle between the Byzantine Romans and Muslims. History is telling us during the fight in this battle between Muslims and the Byzantine Romans, the Jews of Gaza were supporting Muslims and were praying for the God inside their synagogues, asking the God to make the victory for Muslims over the Romans. And after the Muslims won this battle, and they used to go northward into Gaza City, the Jewish community of Gaza Strip was throwing leaves of olive and roses over the horses and the soldiers of the Muslim troops, trying to celebrate their victory over the Byzantine Romans. And so we have this harmony. We have this harmony before.
Yes, and this is one of the hundreds of examples that you cite in your historical work, and that anybody can find out who looks into it with their eyes open, is that, as we've pointed out in many of our more than 50 programs, Muhammad, almost every large Palestinian town before 1948 had a temple, a mosque, and a church. And if you look at the independent documentary film called The Land Speaks Arabic, The Land Speaks Arabic at YouTube, you will hear from the elders like your grandparents, Muhammad, that people did not care very much about what your religion was or what your culture was. They intermingled very friendlily and had as much peace and security as any other people living on the earth. So we don't need a two-state solution. We need one state like that. Let us stop talking about who the state belongs to and think about living together on the landscape. Because if you build separate states, it's just a monument to the lie that people cannot live together. And in fact, they have lived together most of the time. Most of the time.
Yeah, of course, brother. Let me please just give you another historical example. It will be a more modern one. It will not be very, very ancient historically. Yeah, just going back to World War II, when we had the battles in North Africa, in the Libyan and Egyptian desert, between the Nazi army and the British army. You know the Alamein battle.
Yes.
Yeah. After the Nazi army, which was led by Rommel. Yeah, they were fighting against the Britons in North Africa, in the Egyptian desert. In that time, I will tell you something important about the Jewish community inside Palestine, inside the Palestine of the British Mandate. Yeah.
Yes.
In that time, Jews inside Palestine were very, very afraid that maybe the Nazis will destroy the Britons in Egypt, and after that, their way will be paved into Palestine. They
Yes.
will they will they will attack Palestine.
Yes.
So they started to think, what will happen to us? They are killing millions of us in Germany and in Poland in the Holocaust. So they will not deal with us with any kind of mercy. They
Of
will
course.
slaughter us.
Yep.
In that time, they started to hide in the houses and in the neighborhoods and in the plantations of the Muslims and the Christians in Palestine. They started to find a place to hide inside it, in the houses and in the plantations of the Muslims and the Christians
And
inside Palestine. Yeah,
and in other words, they
yeah,
knew, those Jewish people knew who their friends were. They knew who they could count on to hide them and to protect them. And this is entirely consistent with what a great Israeli historian, Ilan Pappé, has documented, that when the first Zionist people came to Palestine, they were welcomed into the homes of Palestinian people who knew how to farm the land, who knew the skills of agriculture that you needed to live here and feed yourself. And so they taught them how to farm the land. These were urban Jews from European cities and places where they could not even own land. So they knew nothing about agriculture. The Palestinian people taught them these things. And at night, Pape says, the Zionist Jews would stay in their bedroom in the Palestinian home, and they would write in their diaries or their journals about what was happening with them. And when they were telling what was happening, they are calling the Palestinian people who are helping them animals. They are calling them savages and beasts. They are helping them all day long, and at night they are calling them animals and savages. So this is telling us something very important about the turn in events. The biggest mistake of all, maybe, that 1948 represented. This was the most needless, useless, because it's not over yet, and brutal mistake that Israel Palestine has ever seen. So I will stop, Muhammad, but let me ask you, you talked a lot of last program about the mistakes that Hamas has made. They have believed certain foolish religious ideas. They have believed political leaders who tell them that Israel will fall. They have believed all kinds of different mistaken ideas that have caused them to think that they could, what, win something? So big mistake. So what for you is the big mistake on the Israeli side? If you could talk to a group of Israeli neighbors today, Mohammed, knowing the history we just discussed, that we have loved each other and helped each other and cared about each other and accepted each other, what would you want the Israelis to most understand about what could be possible?
yeah. I am asking all the Israelis, all the Jews who are watching us. I am asking them to change their understanding for situation. They should start to deal with the situation in a different mentality, in a different way of thinking. I think during the previous decades, the state of Israel has committed very, very shameful massacres against the Palestinians. Thousands, dozens of thousands were
Yes,
killed,
this
were
is
massacred
true.
in these, yeah, in these genocides. Yeah, I think this is not accepted. Now we are living in a modern life. Now it is abnormal matter to listen about massacres and mass killing taking place right now. We are not living in the medieval ages or in the dark ages, in the Viking invasions, etc. We are living in the age of internet, in the age of intelligent.
Yes.
I think they must change their mentality. I think they also should give the Palestinians their rights. I don't know why they are not strict in this regard.
Well,
I
Mohammed,
think I think
let me
they
interrupt you
have
for a moment because I think
yeah yeah
what is blocking many Israelis who are intelligent, educated, thoughtful, compassionate people, but they have this blind spot about the Palestinians. This has been given to them by bad education, by the mistakes from the books that the rabbis read to them and tell them new ideas about why you cannot trust the Palestinians. They will come and kill you at their first opportunity. Is it not that they have to understand that there is nothing to be afraid of? That they have been lied to? That they have mistaken lies for truth? And that they do not need to be afraid to change?
Jews around the world are mighty. They are almost 15 million people. Uh, they 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 must know. They must know that their existence in this planet will not be achieved with force, with terrorism, with the crimes. I think their existence will be secured by love, by harmony, by peace, by understanding the other. I think their existence will be achieved by this way, not by the force and by the gun and by the destruction. Yeah, they should understand that. For
And it's
the for
the
the
proof the proof to them, Muhammad, is in front of their eyes. In other words, if the Jews and the Palestinians did not get along, did not share understanding and compassion and community, if that did not happen, they would not be here. They would not be here. Their grandparents and their parents and their children, none of them would be here if it were not for the cooperation that happened for so many centuries. They have to believe that this is the truth, that this is the way it has always been, and that we can make a difference in the mistakes and correct the mistakes and begin to live again.
Yes, yes. Also, very important thing, they should change their interpreting and their reading for their holy texts, especially the book of Joshua and the other radical books inside their Tanakh or their Old Testament. They have to get rid of their radical interpretation and reading. Unfortunately, right now they are reading those books in a radical way. They have very radical understanding
Yeah.
for those texts. They have to modernize their understanding for those texts.
And last program, Mohammed, in number 2, I think, you were saying that such people, Hamas, militant Palestinians, as well as Israelis and the IDF and so, they they use religion like a taxi, you said. They use religion like a taxi to take them from this point to this point. But we have also discussed, brother, in many of our programs as historians and scholars of history, that the ideas that are in the Torah, the first thing they say when they come into Palestine from Egypt or wherever it was, they say we are going to kill them all and we are going to take their land. Now, this is an idea that has proven not to work. This idea cannot work. It is impossible. You will never be happy. You will never know peace as long as you are committing these crimes. Therefore, they are mistakes. They are mistakes that must be changed, stopped, and changed to a different policy based on the past, on cooperation and the community that used to exist, that created the world we are all seeing. So, ladies and gentlemen, forgive me, but when I engage with Muhammad's book, I tell you, it will light up your mind with hope. It will show you that we have done this already. We have done this already. We can do this. I'm speaking most of all to the Israeli people, about whom I care very deeply. If it were the other way around, I would be supporting them the same way I am with Muhammad. Brother, what more would you like to say? I have one other big question for you today about the book, but what else would you like to
Yes.
talk about or say?
Yeah. Regarding your point about the using the religion as a taxi or as a
That was your point.
transportation mean. Yeah. Unfortunately, we have this bad usage for religion even now in the 21st century. Unfortunately, on both sides, both of them are using religion as taxi.
And
We mentioned
look at
on
how
the
badly
Palestinian.
look at how badly those ideas have guided them. With Hamas, for example, as you say and show us in detail in the book, they thought that Israel was going to fall from what they did on October 7th. They thought they were going to take Al-Aqsa Mosque back. They thought all kinds of miracles were going to happen, and it was all wrong. It was all a mistake that doesn't work. I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you always stimulate
Yes,
me.
yes, yes. Yes, brother. Yeah. Unfortunately, this is the fact. Yeah. They are giving the religion to the people, or the religious slogans to the people as a drugs, as a drugs,
Yeah, yeah, to make
as
them do stupid
marijuana.
things,
Yeah,
to make them do
yeah,
stupid things
yeah,
that are full of hate. You know,
yeah, yeah,
it's a
yeah.
small
Also,
it's a small group of Hamas and a small group of the Israeli government that believe these things and want other people, they want to trick them, to fool them, to give them a drug for the mind that makes them do what
yeah,
they want
yeah,
them to do. But I would say most
yeah,
Israelis,
yeah,
even
yeah,
though we are told that most Israelis support this war and everything, but I'm sorry, I don't believe that. I think they have good hearts, all of them, and they wish there was a way out of
yeah,
fear. They wish there was a way out of war. So
yeah.
please continue, Muhammad. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No worry, brother. Yeah. Of
This is
course, I
so
believe
important.
that most of the Israelis. Yeah, I think that most of the Israelis are compassionate, are good people. I believe that. I believe that most of them are good people. They have very good hearts. Yeah, I believe in that, and I
And
will still believe in that.
And imagine how much strength of the mind and of the heart it takes to make such a big admission to say there are mistakes that have been made and now we are going to correct them. You say in your book multiple times that the Israeli or the Jewish mentality is very strong, has great depth of the soul and is capable of rising to this challenge
Yeah,
to
yeah.
save your own life.
Yes. Of course, yeah. Uh, I think that we have the ability to have coexistence, to have peace. But first of all, we should learn from our mistakes. We have to correct ourselves on both sides, whether in Palestine or in Israel. Uh, I think we have very extended heritage and history of coexistence. We have to learn from this very extended heritage. We have to imitate. We have to imitate our ancestors who lived in peace with each other. We have not to put religion as a barrier between us. Both sides, unfortunately, are misusing religion in order to destroy the other, unfortunately.
It could not be more true, Muhammad. What you said is that we need to grow up. We need to grow up and admit that some of our early ideas from humanity are not correct. This is the process of history, a series of mistakes that people learn from, and then we all go forward. Prosperity, peace. I was thinking the other night, I mean, how many good things would come from the solving of this conflict? How many good things if we have the courage to rise to our souls and create a great historical moment together? How many good things would come to everybody from that? Now I have the dark question, Muhammad. I would like to, as our time goes, I would like to ask you to speak about this. So far, every time there seems to be a bit of hope on the horizon between Palestine and Israel, so far something spoils it. Something happens. Something goes wrong. Another mistake is made. And so many people say it's more likely that instead of rising to a historical challenge that would change their world, it's more likely that Israel will just settle for the status quo and continue the way they have been because it's cheaper than to start to give up land or move out settlements or to stop the different kinds of aggression. That they will just settle for the status quo and ignore the opportunity for real change because that's the easy thing to do. That's the easy thing to do. But there will be consequences to that, right? So would you speak to this dilemma? They probably feel we should just do what we have been doing and not change, but they must realize that there will be consequences.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. Talking about the consequences, unfortunately, the consequences are very, very painful on the Palestinian side. As I am watching now from my window, very, very huge area, very, very huge urban area is totally erased, totally destroyed. Here in Gaza, we have more than 70% of the buildings, all of them are destroyed, more than 70%. It's very, very big percentage. Yeah. And right now, war is not over. Right now, war is not over. Maybe the remaining 30% will be destroyed if the fight is coming again.
And
So,
Israelis are afraid too. They are at war in every direction. They are at war in every direction, and they must be afraid that the consequences are going to come to them. They must be afraid. That is no way to
yeah, yeah,
live in fear when you can solve a problem and end being afraid, right? We are trying to offer them the opportunity and the reasons to change mistakes that have been made for the sake of everybody.
yeah. Israelis. Let me show you how they are thinking. Always they are making invasions and incursions in so many directions. Always they are trying to justify those invasions and incursions by saying that we have a very, very poor geography. We are very, very little piece of land laying on the coast of the Mediterranean. If we doesn't carry out a preemptive actions against the threats of our neighbors, we will not survive. We will not be existed. So always they are justifying or trying to justify their military actions against their neighbors by saying this is a preemptive action. If we don't move to make this preemptive action, we will be destroyed. We will be invaded. Yeah,
It's like an investment in fear. They are investing in creating
exactly.
more fear between them and their neighbors. Well, if someone comes to your house with a gun, you are not going to trust them, probably. But if someone comes to you with a gift to your house and says, I want to offer this as my apology, my sorrow for what has happened, and my wish today is to bring to you, my neighbor, a new possibility. Let us not fight anymore. Let us fix this hell. Let us stop this curse on all of us. This has to end. It has
Yes,
to change because it will not work. And it is not healthy to live in fear. You cannot accept being afraid your whole life.
yes, yes. Yeah, yes, yes, brother. Yeah, I think that medieval mentalities on both sides should be changed. I think we have to change our way of thinking. We have to accept the other. We have to learn from our mistakes. If we doesn't learn from our mistakes, I think it will be some sort of stupidity. Why? Why we have this very extended heritage and long history of coexistence, and we don't take lessons from it? Why we don't try to imitate those ancestors who lived in Shaphir, in my village? They
Right.
lived in peace. The
Yes.
synagogue, the
Yes.
synagogue, the church, the mosque were standing in Shaphir. Every religion was going to pray in his temple, in his holy place, with no harm. Peace was existing between people. Yeah,
Mohammed, I want to thank you for today. We have about maybe 1 minute. I urge people again to look under more information here, to consult with, if you could give even, just share $10, the price of coffee, $10 with Mohammed and his family, they will find a new life. So please click on the GoFundMe link and also click on the link to find out more about getting a copy of Muhammad's book. You will never regret this is 40 pages or so that will teach you more than you might ever believe. Muhammad, here's a quick 1 minute question. You have 1 minute. Do you believe, well, I know that you have always spoken for peace, for against violence. You do not believe that it works, and it doesn't, as we can all see. Do you think that Palestinian people would like to have a new election so that they can throw out Hamas and the PA and have a new leadership that could offer peace to Israel? Does a new election look like the best way
absolutely.
to go?
Absolutely no, no. We will not have an election, and Hamas, both of Hamas and the PA will not be removed, because unfortunately we are victims to the neo-colonialism. We have colonialism right now. It is the neo-colonialism,
So
and
Hamas,
we
we seem to
are
be losing Mohammed's signal, but Hamas and the PA are both in the service of outside powers. They are both in the service of outside powers,
we
right?
are victims.
I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we're losing Mohammed. It seems to be getting to the end. So we want to thank you very much for
We
listening with us today.
are
We we hope you will look for the book and for the GoFundMe.
slaves, unfortunately,
I
for
don't mean
this
to talk
neo.
over you, brother, but our time is gone and your speech
Yes,
has broken. Ladies and gentlemen, peace. We want to wish everyone in the world, Jewish people, Palestinian people, Israeli people, and everyone, peace. And Muhammad's work is trying to point a way there. Thank you very much.